The alarm started screaming at exactly 11:47 p.m. station time. Red lights flashed in every corridor of Horizon 7, the massive research station floating in the dark space between two dead planets. The sound was terrible. It was the kind of alarm that told everyone something very bad had happened. Tae was drinking coffee in his office when the first alert hit his screen. He was the security chief, a tall man of 40 years with tired eyes and strong hands. He had seen many emergencies in his 20 years of service. But when he read the words on his screen, his coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. Containment breach. Level Omega subject OMEGA9. His heart went cold. He put down his cup very slowly and pressed the emergency button on his desk. "All security teams," he said into the speaker, keeping his voice calm even though his hands were shaking. "This is not a drill. Subject Omega-9 has escaped containment. Full lockdown starts now. I repeat, full lockdown starts now." Across the station, heavy metal doors began to close. People stopped what they were doing and looked up at the flashing lights. Some of them knew what Omega-9 was. Those people started to run down in the command center. Station Commander Lee Minho arrived just as Tae walked in. Minho was an older man with gray hair and a calm face. He had commanded Horizon 7 for 15 years. He had never looked as worried as he did now. "How did it get out?" Minho asked. "We do not know yet, sir," Tae replied. The cell cameras went dark 3 minutes before the breach alarm. Park Soo came running into the room next. She was the head of the Dangerous Organisms Division, a woman of 52 years who had spent her whole life studying creatures that could kill. Her face was white with fear. "You need to understand what we are dealing with," she said, pulling up files on the big screen. "Subject Omega-9 is not like anything else we have ever contained. It was captured on Kareth Prime, a death world where everything is designed to kill. Omega-9 is the top predator of that planet." Images appeared on the screen. They showed a creature made of shadow and teeth. But in the next image, it looked like a small animal. In another, it looked almost human. "It can change its shape," Park Soo continued. "It can become anything at once. It can sense fear through the electrical signals in your body. It knows when you are scared. And it knows when you are about to attack." "How dangerous is it exactly?" Minho asked. Though he already knew the answer would be bad. Park Soo took a deep breath. "Before we captured it, Omega-9 killed over 200 armed soldiers across 3 planetary systems. It escaped containment twice on other stations. Both times, it killed everyone on board. No survivors. The only reason we have it is because we used an automated ship with no living crew." The room went silent. Tae looked at the security officers around him. He could see the fear in their eyes. He felt it too. "What does it want?" one young officer asked. "We do not know," Park Soo admitted. "It has never been studied alive for more than a few days before it escapes. All we know is that it responds to violence with violence. Every person who has tried to hurt it has died. Every person who has tried to run from it has died. It is the perfect killer." Tae turned to his team. "Arm yourselves with plasma weapons. Move in groups of 4. Do not try to fight it alone. If you see it, report your position and wait for backup." The officers nodded and ran to the armory. Tae watched them go, wondering how many would still be alive by morning. Meanwhile, in Laboratory Wing C on the far side of the station, Han Ji-woo did not hear the alarms. This was not because she was deaf. It was because her communication device had broken last week, and she had been too busy to get a new one. The alarm speakers in her section had been damaged months ago by a small fire, and no one had fixed them yet. Ji-woo was a junior xenobiologist, 26 years old. With messy black hair that she always tied back with the same old rubber band. She worked alone in a small lab filled with papers, old food containers, and half-finished reports. She was always the last person to leave at night, and sometimes she did not leave at all. Tonight, she was eating cold noodles from a plastic box while reading about the mating habits of ice forms from Europa. It was not exciting work, but it was her work, and she liked it. She hummed a soft song as she ate, an old folk tune her grandmother had taught her when she was a little girl. The lights in her lab flickered for a moment. Jiwoo looked up, frowned, and then shrugged. The lights always flickered in Wing C. That was why no one else wanted to work. Here, she went back to her noodles and her ice. Worms. She did not notice the shadow that slipped under the door behind her. Subject Omega 9 moved like dark water across the floor. It had been running through the station for almost an hour now, staying ahead of the security teams, watching them through cameras and vents. It had killed before. It could kill again. Every instinct in its body told it to attack, to destroy, to survive. But something made it stop when it reached Laboratory Wing C. The creature pressed itself flat against the wall and watched the human woman at the desk. She was small. She was weak. She was not even paying attention to her surroundings. It would be easy to kill her. One quick strike and she would be gone. But Omega 9 did not attack. It stayed very still and watched her eat her noodles. It listened to her humming. And for the first time in its long and bloody existence, the creature felt something strange. The woman was not afraid. Every living thing Omega 9 had ever met was afraid of it. Even before they saw it, they feared it. It could taste their terror in the air, feel it in the electricity of their bodies. Fear was the only thing it knew from other creatures, but this woman felt nothing like that. She was tired. She was a little bored. She was slightly annoyed that her noodles were cold. But she was not afraid. Omega 9 did not understand. It moved closer, sliding behind a tall filing cabinet near her desk. Its many eyes watched her from the darkness. Jiwoo finished her noodles and threw the empty box toward the trash can. She missed. She sighed, got up, picked up the box, and put it in the can properly. Then she sat back down and started typing on her computer. "Come on, little ice forms," she muttered to herself. "Tell me your secrets." The shadow behind the filing cabinet did not move. It just watched. And it waited. For the first time in its life, Subject Omega 9 was curious. 3 hours passed. The station was in chaos. Security teams ran through corridors with weapons ready. Officers shouted orders into radios. Everyone was afraid. But in Laboratory Wing C, everything was quiet. Han Ji-woo had no idea what was happening outside. She worked at her desk, typing notes about ice forms, stopping sometimes to yawn or stretch her neck. Her back hurt from sitting too long. Her eyes were tired from staring at the screen. Under her desk, in the darkest shadow, Subject Omega 9 had not moved. The creature had been watching her for 3 hours now. It had seen her finish her work on ice forms and start a new file about the bacteria found on Mars. It had watched her spill coffee on her papers and say a bad word. It had listened to her hum 6 different songs. None of this made any sense to Omega 9. The creature was very old. It had been born on Carveth Prime, a world where everything was designed to kill. On that planet, there was no peace. There was no rest. There was only survival. From the moment it opened its eyes, Omega 9 had been fighting. It remembered the first creatures that tried to eat it when it was small. It had killed them all. It remembered the larger predators that hunted it as it grew. It had killed them too. By the time the humans came to Carveth Prime, Omega 9 was the most dangerous thing on the planet. The humans came with guns and traps and ships. They did not want to study Omega 9. They wanted to use it as a weapon. They put it in cages. They heard it. They made it angry dots, so Omega 9 killed them. All of them. This pattern repeated again and again. Different humans came. Different aliens came. They all wanted to capture it, study it, use it, or destroy it. They all carried weapons. They all felt fear. And Omega 9 responded the only way it knew how. Was death. Now, for the first time, it had found something different. Ji-Woo dropped her pen. It rolled off the desk and fell to the floor, landing just a few inches from where Omega 9 was hiding. The creature froze. "Come on, little guy," Ji-Woo muttered, bending down to look for it. "Where did you roll off to?" Omega 9 felt something it had never felt before. The woman was talking to her pen. But for one strange moment, it felt like she was talking to Omega 9 itself. Little guy. No one had ever called it that. No one had ever spoken to it without screaming. Ji-Woo found her pen and sat back up. "There you are," she said to the pen. "Stop running away from me." She went back to her work. She did not see the dark shape under her desk. She did not feel the many eyes watching her. Omega-9 stayed perfectly still. It could leave right now. It could kill this woman and escape through the vents. It could find the humans hunting for it and destroy them, one by one. But it did not want to. The creature was confused by this feeling. It had always wanted to kill. That was its nature. That was what it was made for. But right now, in this quiet room with this tired woman, killing was the last thing on its mind. Ji-Woo started humming again. It was the same song from before. The old folk tune her grandmother had taught her. The melody was simple and soft. It filled the small lab with warmth. Omega-9 listened. It had never heard music before. On Carveth Prime, there was no music. There was only the sound of wind and the screams of dying things. This was different. This was beautiful. The creature felt something new growing inside it. It was not hunger. It was not anger. It was something softer, something it had no name for. It pressed itself deeper into the shadow under the desk and closed its eyes. For the first time in its life, Omega-9 felt safe. Hours later, Ji-Woo finally stopped working. She saved her files, turned off her screen, and stretched her arms above her head. "Okay," she said to herself. "Time to sleep. Just a few hours." She did not go to her room. She never did. Instead, she pushed some papers aside, folded her jacket into a pillow, and lay down on the small couch in the corner of her lab. Within minutes, she was asleep. Omega-9 watched her sleep. It watched her chest rise and fall. It watched her face relax. It watched her breathe. It could kill her so easily. One quick strike. It would be over in seconds, but the thought made Omega-9 feel sick. The creature did not understand what was happening to it. It had never felt this way before. It had never wanted to protect something instead of destroy it. Very slowly, very carefully, Omega-9 moved out from under the desk. It changed its shape, becoming smaller, flatter, less threatening. It slid across the floor like a living shadow and stopped near the couch where Ji-Woo was sleeping. It watched her for a long moment. Then, moving as quietly as possible, it curled up on the floor beside her. Not to attack, not to threaten, just to be close. When the morning light came through the small window, Ji-Woo woke up. She groaned, rubbed her eyes, and sat up slowly. Her neck hurt. Her back hurt. Everything hurt. She looked around her messy lab and sighed. Another beautiful day, she said to no one. She did not notice the dark shadow that slipped back under her desk when she started to move. Ji-Woo went to the small bathroom attached to her lab, washed her face, and came back to her desk. She sat down and turned on her computer. Then she frowned. Her papers were different. Last night, they've been scattered everywhere in a big mess. Now they were stacked neatly in 3 piles. What the? Ji-Woo looked around the room. Did someone come in here? She checked the door. It was still locked from the inside. She looked at the windows. They were too small for a person to fit through. Weird, she muttered. She shrugged and got back to work. The cleaning drone had probably fixed itself. Or maybe she was just losing her mind from working too much. Under her desk, Omega 9 watched her start typing. The creature had arranged her papers while she slept. It did not know why. It had just felt like the right thing to do. The woman had given Omega 9 something it had never had before. A quiet place. A safe place. A place where no one was trying to kill it. The creature did not have words for what it was feeling. But if it did, it would have called it gratitude. And somewhere deep inside its strange alien heart, Omega 9 made a decision. This desk was home now. This woman was under its protection, and anything that tried to hurt her would die. 2 days passed. The station was falling apart. Kim Tae stood in the command center, looking at the map of Horizon 7 on the big screen. Red dots showed where his security teams were searching. Yellow dots showed where people had reported strange movements in the shadows. How many teams do we have left? Commander Minho asked from behind him. 15 active, Tae replied. His voice was tired. He had not slept in 2 days. 3 officers are in the medical bay. Dead? No, sir. Just unconscious. We found them in storage closets on the east side of the station. Minho frowned. This was the part that confused everyone. 3 security officers had gone missing during patrol. The whole station had expected to find their bodies torn apart. Instead, they found the officers sleeping peacefully in locked closets, without a single wound on their bodies. Park Sue came into the room, her face filled with confusion. I have been studying the attack patterns, she said, and something is very wrong. Wrong how? Tae asked. Omega 9 is not killing anyone. Park Sue brought up security footage on the screen. It showed a dark shape moving through a corridor. 2 security officers turned the corner and saw it. The creature moved so fast, it was just a blur. The footage ended with both officers on the floor. We thought they were dead, Park Sue continued. But they woke up 6 hours later with no injuries. Omega 9 knocked them out and left them alive. Tae could not believe what he was hearing. That thing has killed over 200 people. Why would it suddenly stop? I do not know, Park Sue admitted. But there is more. Look at its movement pattern. She brought up a map showing where Omega 9 had been seen over the past 2 days. The red lines moved all over the station, but they always came back to the same place. Laboratory Wing C, Minho said. What is in Wing C? Park Sue checked her files. Storage mostly. Old equipment. There is one active lab there. She read the name on the screen. Han Ji-woo, Junior Xenobiologist. Iceworm Specialist. Get her in here now, Minho ordered. But when they tried to call Han Ji-woo, no one answered. In Laboratory Wing C. Ji-woo was having another normal day. She did not know about the lockdown because her communication device was still broken. She did not know about the monster because no one had come to tell her. She was just working, like she always did. But she was also getting confused. The strange things around her desk kept getting stranger. First, her papers were organized. Then her pens appeared in a neat row. This morning, she found a small metal bolt sitting on her keyboard like a gift. Okay, she said out loud, looking around her empty lab. This is getting weird. She picked up the bolt and looked at it. It was shiny and clean, like someone had polished it. Do I have a ghost? She asked the room. Or maybe a mouse. She looked under her desk. She saw nothing but shadow. Hello? She said to the darkness. Is someone there? Omega 9 watched her from the shadows. It had been collecting things for her. Small, shiny objects. Pretty stones from the hydroponics bay. a piece of blue glass from a broken light. It did not know why it was doing this. It just wanted to give her things. The woman was looking right at it, but her human eyes could not see through the darkness. She shrugged and stood back up. "If you are a mouse," she said, "you should know that I am not afraid of mice. My grandmother had 100 mice on her farm. We were friends." She went to the small water machine in the corner and filled a little cup. Then she put the cup on the floor near her desk. "In case you get thirsty, little guy." She went back to her computer and started working again. Under the desk, Amiga 9 looked at the cup of water. It felt that strange warm feeling again, the one it had no name for. The woman was leaving water for a mouse that did not exist. She was kind to creatures she could not see. She was kind to things that might not even be real. Amiga 9 had never met anyone like this before. That evening, things changed. Kim Tae and his team came to laboratory. Wing C. They moved through the dark corridors with their weapons ready. Their hearts were beating fast. They knew Omega 9 kept coming back to this area. This was where they would find it. They reached Ji Woo's lab and stopped outside the door. Tae held up his hand, telling his team to wait. He could hear something from inside. It was humming, soft and sweet. He looked through the small window in the door. He saw a young woman at a desk, typing on her computer and humming a song. She looked peaceful. She looked completely unaware of any danger. Tae opened the door slowly. "Han Ji-woo?" Ji-woo jumped in her chair and spun around. "What? Who are you? What are you doing in my lab?" "I am Kim Tae, security chief. You need to come with us right now." "Why? What is going on?" Tae did not want to scare her, but he had no choice. "There is a creature loose on this station. A very dangerous creature. It keeps coming back to this area. To your lab." Ji-woo looked confused. "A creature? What kind of creature?" "The kind that has killed over 200 people." Tae stepped into the room, his eyes scanning every shadow. "We need to get you to safety." Ji-woo stood up slowly. Her legs were shaking. "I have been here for 2 days. I did not see anything. It can hide in shadows. It can change its shape." Tae looked around the small lab. His eyes stopped on the cup of water on the floor. "What is that?" "Oh." Ji-woo felt embarrassed. "I thought I had a mouse." Tae felt a cold feeling run down his back. He looked under the desk. He saw nothing, but the darkness there seemed deeper than it should be. "Everyone out," he said quietly. Now, they took Ji-woo to the command center. Park Soo asked her many questions. Had she seen anything strange? Had she heard anything? Had she felt like she was being watched? Ji-woo told him about the organized papers, the shiny gifts, the cup of water. Park Soo and Tae looked at each other. "It was leaving you presents," Park Soo said slowly, "like a cat bringing gifts to its owner." Ji-woo did not understand. "What do you mean?" "I thought I had a mouse problem." "You do not have a mouse," Tae said. "You have a monster. The most dangerous creature in the galaxy has been living under your desk for 2 days." Ji-woo's face went pale. In laboratory Wing C, Amiga 9 waited under the empty desk. The woman was gone. The room was dark and quiet and cold. For the first time in 2 days, the creature felt alone, and it did not like that feeling at all. Han Ji-woo sat in the command center with her hands shaking. Around her, screens showed security footage from all over the station. Officers talked into radios. Weapons were being loaded and checked. She could not believe what they had told her. A monster. The most dangerous creature in the galaxy. It had been living under her desk, watching her, listening to her hum. "Why did it not kill me?" she asked quietly. Park Soo looked at her with curious eyes. "That is what we are trying to understand. Omega 9 has never done this before. It has never let a person live. Maybe she is just lucky, one of the officers said. No. Tay was watching the security footage from Ji-Woo's lab. Look at this. He pointed at the screen. The footage showed Omega-9 as a dark shape sliding under Ji-Woo's desk. It showed the creature staying perfectly still while she worked. It showed the creature leaving gifts on her desk during the night. It is protecting her, Tay said. Every time our teams get close to Wingsea, it attacks them. But it does not kill them. It just stops them from reaching her. Commander Minho looked at Ji-Woo. What did you do differently? Why does it like you? Ji-Woo did not know what to say. I did not do anything. I was just working. I was eating my dinner and humming and... She stopped. Her grandmother's words came back to her. The old woman used to tell her that even the angriest dog was just looking for someone to love it. Even the wildest bird was just looking for a safe place to land. I was not afraid, Ji-Woo said slowly. I did not know it was there. I was not afraid of it. Park Sue's eyes went wide. That is it. Omega-9 can sense fear. Every person it has ever met has been terrified of it. But you were the first person who was not afraid. Because I did not know, Ji-Woo said. I thought I had a mouse. The room went quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. A cup of water. Kind words to an empty room. Gifts left by a monster that had never received kindness before. What do we do now? Minho asked. Tay stood up. We do what we planned. We find it and we kill it. Wait. Ji-Woo stood up too. What if that is the wrong thing to do? Everyone looked at her. You said it has not killed anyone on this station, Ji-Woo continued. You said it was protecting me. What if it is not a monster anymore? What if it just wants... What? Tay asked. What do you think it wants? Ji-Woo thought about the shiny bolt on her keyboard. The organized papers. The dark shadow that had not hurt her even though it could have killed her in seconds. I think it wants a friend, she said. Nobody laughed. Nobody told her she was being foolish. In the silence, they all considered the impossible idea. A creature that had killed 200 people, learning to be gentle because one tired woman had left it a cup of water. This is crazy, Tay said. But he did not sound sure anymore. Minho made a decision. We will try it her way first. If she's wrong, we kill it. An hour later, Ji-Woo walked back to Laboratory Wing C. Her legs were shaking. Her heart was beating so fast she could feel it in her throat. Behind her, 6 security officers followed with weapons ready. Tay was at the front, his plasma gun pointing at every shadow. The corridor was dark and quiet. The lights flickered like they always did in this old part of the station. Ji-Woo reached the door to her lab. She took a deep breath and opened it. The room looked the same as before. Her desk, her papers, her computer. The cup of water was still on the floor, untouched. Hello? Ji-Woo's voice was shaking. Are you still here? Nothing moved. The shadow stayed still. Tay raised his weapon. Maybe it left. No, Ji-Woo said. She could feel something watching her. It is here. She took a step forward. Then another. The security officers tensed behind her. Slowly, very slowly, a shadow under her desk began to move. Omega-9 came out. It did not take a scary shape this time. It made itself small, like a dark dog with too many eyes. Its body was the color of night. Its many eyes were the color of stars. Ji-Woo felt fear hit her like a wave. Her body wanted to run. Her mind screamed that this thing was dangerous, that it could kill her with one strike. Omega-9 felt her fear. It was like cold water after 2 days of warmth. The creature whimpered, a small sad sound, and started to back away. It knew this feeling. Everyone was afraid of it. Even this kind woman. Even she would learn to hate it. But then Ji-Woo remembered something. Her grandmother. holding a wild cat that had clawed her arms. The old woman smiling, saying the same words she always said. Even the fiercest creatures are just looking for a home. Ji-woo did something that surprised everyone, including herself. She knelt down on the floor. "Hey," she whispered. Her voice was still shaking, but she made herself speak anyway. "It is okay. I am not going to hurt you." Omega 9 stopped moving. Its many eyes looked at her dot behind Ji-woo. Tae's finger was on the trigger of his gun. One wrong move and he would fire. Omega 9 looked at the armed men. It could feel their fear and their hate. It could feel their fingers on their weapons. It knew that if it moved the wrong way, they would shoot. But then it looked back at Ji-woo. She was scared. It could feel that. But she was not running. She was not attacking. She was just there, on her knees, looking at it with soft eyes. The creature made a choice. Very slowly, it reached out and pushed the cup of water toward Ji-woo with its nose. A gift. A thank you. A way of saying what it had no words to say. Ji-woo felt tears in her eyes. "You kept the water." Omega 9 made a soft sound. Not a growl. Not a hiss. Something gentler. Then, very carefully, it lay down on the floor in front of her. It closed its many eyes. It was not attacking. It was not defending. It was surrendering. In the command center, Park Soo watched through the cameras. Her hands were covering her mouth. "It is giving up," she whispered. "It is showing her that it trusts her." Commander Minho watched the screen with wide eyes. A creature that had killed 200 people was lying on the floor like a tired pet. All because one woman had been kind to it. In the lab, Tae slowly lowered his weapon. He did not understand what was happening, but he knew killing was not the answer anymore. Ji-woo looked up at the guards behind her. Her voice was steady now. "I do not think it wants to fight anymore." Omega 9 opened one eye and looked at her. For a moment, human and creature shared a look of perfect understanding. It had taken millions of years of evolution to create the perfect killer. It had taken one woman with a cup of water to change it. 1 year had passed since the night when Subject Omega 9 surrendered on the floor of Laboratory Wing C1. Years since a monster chose peace over violence. 1 year since everything changed. Han Ji-woo was not a junior xenobiologist anymore. She sat in her new office, bigger and cleaner than her old lab, with windows that looked out at the stars. On her desk was a golden nameplate that read, "Lead Xenobiologist," and behind her was a wall full of awards and certificates. But some things had not changed. Under her desk, in the comfortable darkness, a small shadow was sleeping. Ji-woo smiled and reached down to touch the shadow gently. "Wake up, Bam. We have a meeting." The shadow moved. It stretched and yawned, showing too many teeth, and then changed into a small dark creature about the size of a cat. It had many eyes, all of them bright and intelligent. It looked up at Ji-woo with what could only be called love. She had named it Bam, which meant night in Korean. It was a simple name for a creature that was anything but simple. Bam jumped onto her shoulder as she stood up. It wrapped itself around her neck like a living scarf, soft and warm. Its many eyes watched everything around them, always alert, always protective. They walked through the corridors of Horizon 7 together. People stopped and stared, but not with fear anymore. They stared with wonder. The creature that had once killed over 200 people was now the most beloved animal on the station. Children asked to pet it. Scientists wanted to study it. News channels from across the galaxy had done stories about the monster that learned to love. Bam hissed at anyone who got too close to Ji-woo. It was still protective. It would always be protective. But it did not hurt anyone. It just made clear that Ji-woo was its person, and anyone who made her unhappy would regret it. The meeting was in the main conference room. Commander Minho was there, along with Kim Tae, Park Soo, and several important officials from the Galactic Union. They had come to hear Jian Wu's report. She stood at the front of the room, Bam still wrapped around her shoulders. On the screen behind her were pictures and data from a year of research. Subject Omega-9, now known as Bam, is no longer classified as a dangerous organism, she said. After 12 months of study, we have concluded that it is highly intelligent, emotionally complex, and capable of forming deep bonds with humans. One of the Galactic Union officials raised his hand. But it killed 200 people. How do we know it will not kill again? Jiwoo looked at Bam. The creature looked back at her with its many eyes. Bam was not born violent, she said. It was born on a planet where everything was trying to kill it. It learned violence because violence was all it knew. Every person it met tried to hurt it, cage it, or use it as a weapon. She clicked to the next slide. It showed her old lab, the messy desk, the cup of water on the floor. Then it found someone who did not want to hurt it. I did not know what Bam was. I thought I had a mouse. So I treated it with kindness. I talked to it. I left water for it. I hummed songs while I worked. Park Soo was nodding. She had helped write the research paper. Bam responded to kindness with kindness, Jiwoo continued. It stopped killing. It started protecting. It chose peace because someone finally gave it a chance to choose. The room was silent. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. Kim Tae stood up. He had changed in the past year, too. He no longer carried a weapon everywhere he went. He had started reading poetry again, something he had given up when he became a soldier. I was ready to kill that creature, he said to the room. I had my finger on the trigger. But Jiwoo was right. The answer was not violence. The answer was understanding. He looked at Jiwoo with respect in his eyes. It was not her lack of fear that saved her. It was her kindness. She was the first being in Bam's entire existence that treated it like it might be something other than a monster. The meeting continued for another hour. There were many questions, many concerns, many doubts. But in the end, the Galactic Union agreed. Subject Omega-9 was no longer a weapon or a threat. It was the first interspecies emotional support companion in galactic history. After the meeting, Minho asked Jiwoo to stay behind. I want you to know something, the old commander said. Your research has changed how we think about dangerous organisms. Maybe violence is not the only answer. Maybe understanding is better. Jiwoo smiled. Bam purred on her shoulder. That is what my grandmother always said. Even the fiercest creatures are just looking for a home. Minho nodded. Then he did something unexpected. He reached out and gently touched Bam on the head. The creature let him. It even made a happy sound. I am going to make an announcement to the whole station, Minho said. I think they need to hear this. An hour later, every speaker on Horizon 7 carried Commander Minho's voice. Attention all personnel. This is Commander Lee Minho. I want to share something important with all of you. People stopped what they were doing. They listened. 1 year ago, we faced what we thought was the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. We prepared for war. We prepared for death. But instead, we learned something valuable. Minho paused. Then he continued. Let the record show that humanity's greatest weapon was never firepower. It was never technology or strength. Our greatest weapon was a cold cup of water and a woman who hummed. Kindness changed what violence could not. Across the station, people smiled. Some of them cried. It was a strange thing to cry about, but they did anyway. In her new office, Jiwoo listened to the announcement. Bam was in her lap now, small and warm, making its strange purring sound. You hear that? She said softly. You are famous. Bam looked up at her with its many eyes. It did not care about being famous. It only cared about being with her. That night, Jiwoo worked late. She always did. Old habits were hard to break. She sat at her desk, typing notes about Bam's behavior, stopping sometimes to yawn or stretch her neck. And she hummed the same old folk song her grandmother had taught her when she was a little girl. Under her desk, Bam was curled up in the darkness. Its many eyes were closed. Its breathing was slow and peaceful. It was sleeping the way it had slept every night for the past year, safe and warm and loved. Outside the window, the stars were bright and endless. Somewhere out there, on 1,000 different planets, creatures were fighting and killing and surviving. But here, in this small office on a research station floating in the dark between worlds, there was peace. A monster had found a home, a woman had found a friend, and the galaxy had learned that sometimes the most dangerous thing was not violence, it was being gentle when the universe expected you to be cruel. The story of Bam spread across the stars. It was told on 100 different worlds, in 100 different languages. The tale of the creature that could have killed everyone but chose to love instead. And every time the story was told, it ended the same way, with a woman humming in the dark and a shadow sleeping peacefully beneath her desk. Some stories are about war. Some stories are about heroes and battles and victory. But this story was about something simpler and something greater. This story was about kindness, and kindness, it turned out, was the most powerful weapon in the universe.